J. Silak, extreme partisan redistricting is incompatible with democratic principles. This is according to L. Page Whitaker, a graduate of the Catholic University of America, Columbus School of Law, in a Congressional Research Service journal published March 18, 2019. Many of us will be voting in the 2022 midterm elections. In this election, many congressional districts, including our own, will be newly changed. But what effect does the way these congressional districts are set have on our elections and on our democracy? Partisan redistricting is a major threat to American democracy. First, I will talk about what partisan redistricting is, then some negative effects it has had on our democracy, and finally, some possible solutions to prevent it in the future. First, let's describe what partisan redistricting is. Partisan redistricting, often referred to as gerrymandering, is a political process where congressional districts are altered in a way that favors one candidate or party. According to Sarah J. Ekman, a graduate of the University of Mary Washington with majors in American Studies and Political Science, in a Congressional Research Service journal published November 15, 2021, all votes in the United States are required to meet a so-called equality standard. This equality standard means that a vote in one district needs to be equal to a vote in another district. Usually this means all the districts in a state need to have equal population. In fact, this standard is something that has been debated by numerous Supreme Court cases. According to the Congressional Research Service, a nonpartisan group of researchers who report to Congress on various topics, in a journal published September 10, 2021, states with districts as small as a 0.69 population difference has had their districts invalidated. This exact percentage is something that has changed over time, and there is no clear standard set. Additionally, there is no mandate by Congress on how congressional districts need to be set across the United States. Now that we understand what partisan redistricting is, let's discuss some of the negative impacts it has had on our democracy. Partisan redistricting can be used to invalidate the votes of certain candidates or political parties. This is done because of the fact that voters are transferred into a district where they are voting for a candidate or party with a very small likelihood of winning. Voting is a critical part of our democracy, and throughout the course of our democracy, we have seen voting rights expand for many groups of people. So why don't we take similar efforts to protect the voting rights of those who already have the right to vote by allowing them to do so in a fair and equal congressional district? Now that we understand some of the negative effects of partisan redistricting, let's discuss some possible solutions to prevent it in the future. The first of these solutions is using a panel or judge to set the congressional districts within a state. According to Jordan Carr Peterson, an assistant professor in the School of Public and International Affairs at North Carolina State University, in a University of Denver Law and Policy Journal published July of 2019, this method can actually produce more competitive congressional districts. But this comes at a cost, as these districts will often be made more competitive by adding voters of an opposite party. It has been found that Democratic judges will add Democratic voters to Republican districts, therefore making it more likely for Democrats to win the district. The opposite has been true for Republican judges, who will add Republican voters to primarily Democratic districts to allow the Republican voters to be more likely to win the district. It has also been found that districts that are set in this method are equally partisan as those set by state legislators or other means. The other solution, proposed by Olivia Guest, an assistant professor of computational and computer science at Rat Brown University, in a Cornell University journal published June 27, 2020, mentions the use of computers in congressional redistricting. This has several benefits. The first of these being the fact that computers can easily generate the congressional districts for an entire state. This is especially beneficial in very large states, where the task of congressional redistricting might exceed the capacity of even the most efficient humans. The other benefit is the fact that this can respect current political boundaries, such as city or county guidelines, which are very important to follow when redistricting congressional districts. The final and likely most important benefit of this is the fact that computers can ignore partisan politics in a way that is better than even the best humans. First, I talked about what partisan redistricting is, then some negative impacts it has had on our democracy, and finally, some ways we can work to prevent it in the future. Partisan redistricting is a major threat to American democracy. Because partisan redistricting is incompatible with democratic principles, it is critical that we work to prevent it in the future.
432.